So today we have a special guest, and her name is Julia Cannon. So she is the daughter of Dolores Cannon, and everybody knows Tracy. So today we're going to talk to her about her book, Soul Speak. And this book deals with healing and different ways of looking at like different pains and aches and diseases, cancer. It's a totally different viewpoint of healing and like how to heal yourself and how to look at different pains and diseases from a different type of viewpoint that can help you out in life. And I met Julia at a QHHT class in Arkansas, level 1 and level 2. And if I can get this computer to work to share the picture, I will, but the picture is probably going to go that way. So, and of course, her mother is the author of Convoluted Universe, some of my favorite books. And she was an instructor and cared so much for everybody in the class, so much love, and such a wonderful person, caring, just really down to earth and hard as gold. I mean, you can't put it in a box. It just explodes.
So I was told years ago that I was going to do QHHT, and that kind of sent me on a little adventure. And that adventure took me to Honolulu, where Dolores and Doreen Virtue were going to be speaking, and Julia was there with her mom at the time. And so I had gone to that lecture and got to, that was my only in-person meeting with Dolores, but that got my journey started with Julia. And so I got my book signed. I got to sit there and listen to all the fascinating things about the 3 waves of volunteers, and I think Doreen Virtue's version of that is indigos and crystal and star children or something like that. So that was a really cool lecture. It was in a small little church. It was very intimate. We got to all go up and talk to them. And the most impressive thing was how down to earth and friendly both of you were. You were available to anyone that wanted to talk to you, and you stuck around afterwards and let us all just hover on you and get pictures and, you know, be gushy and weird, and you let that happen. And so I was appreciative of that. And at the time I had some internet radio shows going, and I think it was probably a year or so later when I finally contacted Julia and asked her if she would be on my show to talk about Soul Speak and different things like that. And we just, I don't know, I think from the get-go we were just kind of smart asses, and we just kind of roll with it. Yeah, yes. We had a lot of fun. And so I had her back and we had more fun, and I had her back again, we had more fun. And then we did shows with Diane Morrison. And so at that point I had already taken my QHHT level 1, but I did mine online, so I didn't get the in-person experience. But I was practicing the quantum healing and having some wonderful experiences with that, getting to go to amazing different places with the clients, and really wanting to do level 2. And so that's how I met Jason. So Arkansas.
Lots of hugs.
Yeah, lots of hugs. And got to spend some time with Julia and Jason and everyone else in person, Kaya and the group, and just got to really even get to sink that connection in even further. And now she can't get rid of me. So what do you do?
Yeah, y'all stuck together.
Yeah, I think actually we found out karmically we are tied together. So there's no mistake in us getting along like this. It is the karmic path, and so it's good. Waiting to see how that all works out for us.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Makes you wonder what the future holds.
It really does, yeah. But
well, did you get any feedback of your book from anybody at that show, at that expo?
I did. Everybody, I mean, it's like what Tracy, I think we were saying beforehand. I mean, the ones that know of it, know about it and everything, the practitioners, almost all practitioners, use it and everything. And it's always it's a wonderful resource book. They all use it. They all, they have their clients use it after they, have their sessions with them if they have anything healing going
Right.
on. So yeah, everybody that gives me feedback, that's what they're telling me. Every day I use this book. So
Yeah, it is a daily referencer. I agree. Why don't you tell people how they would work that as a daily, how they could use this book to on a daily reference type thing, or just, with family and friends. How does one use the Soul Speak book?
Well, first of all, Soul Speak, Soul Speak, the language of your body. It's understanding that this is, when your body has aches and pains and illnesses, diseases, anything like that, it's a message from your higher self to you, because the body is not created to have any of these issues. It's created to be healthy, have no aches or pains, and live to be several hundred years old.
Wow.
So it's like, then what's going on if that's not happening? We have all this stuff happening. Well, and that's where through mom sessions and then my own intuitive work, I found that this is a language that our higher selves are using to try and speak to us. It's just through our body. These are messages to tell us things, directions to go, or you stopped and you need to keep moving, or you're off track. Usually it's things like that. It can be other things as well. But so it's anytime if you have issues going on with your body, it's trying to tell you something. So that's where the book, I recommend that you read it all the way through so you understand the process of it and the whole premise of it. But there is a quick guide in the back to help you, if you just went there and got, okay, well, this is what this means. And that's great to understand that right then. But you really, really want to go and read it all and understand just how it works, because then you can do it with anything. It's not just using that book as a reference guide, because it's not meant that way. My higher self told me, when they kept insisting that I write this, they told me that I had to, because there weren't others out there with the process, and to help people fully understand what is going on. And when you understand what and why, then you know what to do with it. You can work with it better. So if you just go for something outside of yourself and to get the answers, you'll never fully understand yourself and be able to heal yourself. You've got to have the process within. This is the time they keep saying it's time to stop going on the outside of ourselves or without to get our answers. All of the answers lie within. We've been told that how long? And they said, now it's time to do that. It's time to go inside and get your answers. And this book tells you how to do that.
Right. Yeah, you cover almost a lot of topics: asthma, arthritis, birth defects, bruises, burns, cancer, chills, colds, bone problems.
There are a lot of things there are some things that are not covered, but that's where, if you go to the body area, the system, the body system, and understand, see, that's what I'm saying, go through the book and understand how it works, then all you have to do is understand the body system, and you will understand the messages. It doesn't have to be laid out there in a guide for you.
I know when you was talking about the book in the level 2 class, and it was perfect timing. You was talking about the eyes. If you have eye problems, your body's trying to give you a message that you're not seeing. And
right. What don't you want to see, or what don't you want to see clearly, or what are you not seeing clearly? Something along those lines. Yeah.
Right. And then you went to the ears.
And
it's like your body's trying to tell you that you're not listening, you're not hearing. And a person in the back in the level 2 class goes,
That's
what?
Right.
What?
Yeah.
It was like
I remember that.
timing.
It was perfect timing. It's like, I thought it was a joke, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it was.
No, it wasn't a joke. No.
She's like, what? I have that problem. What was that? It was like everybody started.
Everyone's laughing.
And
Yeah.
it was like perfect. She's like, I have that problem too. What was that? What was that last part? She only knew.
Yeah.
Exactly. And well, she just told on herself, and that was really perfect. Or I don't remember if it was a male or female, but but that's just it. Not paying attention, not listening, and so it was perfect. Everybody got that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of the other examples?
Well, I think one would be good is Tracy. We've worked through something. You had a personal
Yeah.
Yes.
situation. Would you mind sharing that? Because that's just textbook. What happened?
Mhm.
Yeah, that really was. And it's,
Yeah.
I think maybe it happened more for these scenarios that we keep sharing than it did for.
I'm saying
there
it's
was-
textbook. I say it's textbook, but it was soul speak book.
So great. So this
Word
was
for
right
word.
before the conference, and so I was talking to Julia, trying to orchestrate getting some stuff going on with flights and hotel and everything else, and I kept having this back pain, and she didn't know I was going. I'm like, okay, I'll get back to you, and I hang up the phone. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this hurts so bad.
Mm.
But I'm trying to walk it off, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and finally I get to that point where I realize I got to go to urgent care and find out what's happening, because when I looked up the symptoms, it was saying it was either kidney or bladder. And so I thought, well, that ain't going away without a prescription, most likely, so I better get over to urgent care. So I called, I think I might have called you back and told you I'm going to get back to you a little bit later, I got to go do this, something along those lines. So I go to urgent care, and sure enough, she says, yeah, you got a kidney stone. Sends me home with one of those little filters to go potty and to catch the stone. And she doesn't give me any prescription. She says, go get the equivalent of a leave. And then, she did give me like a Flomax thing to open the channels for the crystal or the stone to get through. So I come back, and at this point, finally, I took the Aleve, and it was finally kicking in. I was feeling a little bit better. I called Julia back, and I said, okay, Miss Body Talks.
Talk to me.
I'm in pain. Help me figure this out. And so I told her what was happening, and you can go ahead and tell the world your diagnosis of it.
Yeah, anytime, okay, kidneys, urine, urethra, anything with that area, you look at what that system does. So Jason, what does that system do? I mean, kidneys and the bladder and all of that.
Cleans out your system, filters out the blood, removes toxins.
It eliminates toxins, right? Yeah, it eliminates the waste from your body, right? It's the urine is your waste. And so if you have things there, then it's something to do with toxins or with waste, things that you need to be letting go of and you're holding on to, or it could be frequent urination. It could be you're really trying to get rid of it, things like that. But if you have something in that area, it's toxins or waste products from the body that you need to be rid of. Okay, and then the kidneys, like you said, that's filtering the toxins. So it has something to do with toxins of some kind. And that can be either literally chemical poison toxins or a toxic situation.
Toxic, like a toxic relationship or something toxic.
Something, yes. And so, and what's so beautiful when it's in that area, we have a term. I mean, we get this stuff because we have phrases that we use.
Yeah.
So my first question was to her is, what's pissing you off?
It really was, yeah. And I said, oh. And she goes, do you feel blocked in this area? I'm like, yeah. I mean, it was like literally she said two things to me and boom, you could feel the shift. And so, yeah, she helped me realize what the situation was and that I was feeling stuck in that situation. I had no control. I was feeling very limited and stuck in that. And it was funny because the pain never came back.
Yeah, it was gone.
The stone. It was gone. It never came back. I was ready for something to pass, and it never did. And I'm going to knock on wood right now. It never came back.
Absolutely.
So
that's how it works. It's just there to deliver a message. And once you get the message, you understand it. And if you need to act on it, then you act on it. But a lot of the times it's just understanding it. Like she went, oh, that's an understanding. Everything shifts at that point. You no longer need the message.
Yeah.
It just disappears. And that's where you'll get these miraculous cures. People, oh, I don't know. It's a miracle. No, it's you understood the message.
Yeah. Yeah, I am really a textbook of what can happen with this, because the pain was, I'm not one that likes to go to an emergency room or a doctor's or anything like that. And I'll put it off until, it's bad if I went. and it was bad. I could barely breathe. It was like labor. And I was having a hard time breathing. And luckily, it's just like literally 2 blocks from my house. My sister was going to come pick me up and take me. I'm like, I think I can drive there. But yeah, it was bad. Even when I'm standing and they're waiting for him to come get me, the gal's going, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, can't breathe." I'm probably turning all kinds of pale. And but yeah, they get me in there. And the part that cracked me up, though, I do have to say, is I'm sitting there thinking they're giving me this prescription strength something for this pain, and I'm sitting in there for at least another hour waiting for the test results and everything, whatever, to come back. And I'm sitting there in pain, and it would kick in, and I would just be sitting there trying to breathe, and I'm in the little room by myself. And then she comes back and she gives me the prescription, and she goes, "You could probably just get this over the counter. It's the equivalent to a leave, and you just take 2." And I'm like, I had that in my purse.
You could have taken a long time ago.
Taken it a long time ago. I was like, oh my gosh, here I wasn't taking anything because I didn't want it to interfere with whatever they give me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah. Anyway, I guess I needed to have the experience.
Yeah. So you knew the message right away, and once when you got the message, I guess you had to clear something out your life, or
no, I had to
life.
I had to realize what it was that I was upset about. So I tend to think everything in my world is my mirror, right? So it's never the other person. It's never, ever the other person. It's like, okay, what was that trigger? I was being triggered by something another person was doing, but it was my stuff that was surfacing. So once she told me, what are you pissed off about? Where are you feeling stuck? And then I just took time to sit with that and go, okay, yeah. Why am I? And I worked through it. I had to actually go back to another part of my history, go further back to figure out when was the first time I felt this way, and identify that and heal that. It wasn't even about the person that was currently in the situation. It was something that went further back to, I think it might have even been a childhood thing or early adult years that something happened to me that was really hurtful. And then this mirrored it. And when that happened, then it kicked in all of this physical stuff because I still wasn't releasing it with the mirror. So then I had to have the physical thing show up so that I could purge it. But once I had Julia's help identifying it, then I was able to go through looking at it. And I mean, just even identifying it was the shift that, like, right then, the painkillers had kind of kicked in before I got a hold of her. So the pain was gone. But the fact that it never came back and I never passed a stone, it just all went away.
Wow.
It never did come back. So, there really is truth in doing the work around the stuff.
Right, and you do the work. I mean, the first thing is understanding what it is. And that's usually because so many times we say, oh, it's an ache or pain. We got to go to the doctor. We got to take a pain pill, whatever. Mm-hmm. And that's the end of it. We don't look for what is it. There's something behind it. There's a message there. Yeah. If we just keep taking pain pills or taking whatever, then it's not going to go away. It's going to stay there because it's a message.
It gets louder.
Mm-hmm. It's going to get louder.
Yeah.
And until you
finds other messages for you.
Yeah.
It's coming to mind when you're asking some other examples. And so I guess somebody needs to hear this, because usually I don't start in this part. I start with back and the legs and things like that. Mm-hmm. But it's telling me to talk about anything in the mouth, the throat, the jaws, anything in this area. Okay, that's very literally, this is what you use to speak, right? So that's how you do this. It's very literal. What is that part used for? It's also used for eating and everything, but in this part we're talking about, it's talking about speaking, and it has to do with speaking your truth. Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes that's kind of abstract, and people, that doesn't mean a lot to them. So right. Another way of putting that is there's something you need to say and you're not saying it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That brings it right down to what it is. And usually if I say that to someone, they know exactly what it is.
Yeah. And I've watched her do that, where she was on stage talking to the audience. And when somebody would volunteer themselves to go through the process with her, as soon as she would identify what area is being affected. This is what that might mean. What was going on at that time. Oh, and you would see it every time, that aha moment, every time. They know what it is as soon as you
they
say
do
it.
know. They do know.
And it's like,
And-
oh, that makes sense.
Absolutely. Another thing is, if it's something that's been going on for quite a while, then it's like just identifying the area isn't quite enough. Now we need to identify, when did it start? Because something was happening at that point, and that's why it started. But now it's continued because you haven't gotten to the core of the matter. So that's where you look at, when did this start? And it might have been years ago. And it's okay, what was going on in your life at that time? And then you'll see there was something happening.
Yeah.
And it all correlates then. It all makes sense, because as soon as you do that, they say their aha moment. Oh, well, now that's when this was going on.
Yeah.
It's just something they just never got the message. Well, now they're getting it. So now you can do something. You understand it now, and if it's calling for an action, okay. But usually, once you get that understanding, you know what to do.
Yeah.
Because, like, okay, it's just a shifting of understanding there, and that's what it takes.
Absolutely.
It's really very simple.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned the throat, but like, I think shoulders comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
That you have your shoulders are hurting, and people don't realize that's because you're putting a lot of pressure on your shoulders. A lot of stuff's on your plate.
Carrying a lot of weight. I like to say, one example is like Atlas carrying the world.
Mm-hmm.
But one that really resonates with me is, how they have the poles over the shoulder, and they have water, the
Oh, yeah.
buckets of water hanging off each one, and then how it makes you go like, it's like you can feel it. It's like, that's how it always comes to me as far as that. And when you think, that's carrying a lot of weight on your shoulders.
Yeah.
In other words, you're bearing a lot of responsibility. You're doing a lot of things that maybe, and probably could be delegating. And, usually the people that are doing all that.
Did you look at me when you just said that?
I did.
I think
And myself, you're my mirror.
Yeah.
But there's a tendency to, that's just it, and it's as it moves down. A lot of times they'll have that, and they have the low back will have issues, and the low back represents support or the feeling. It's usually they feel like they don't have support. And the big word there is feel. It doesn't mean that they don't have support. They feel like they don't have support. And it's usually just a matter of them not, well, it's that delegation thing again. I got to do it all. Nobody's here. They can't do it. Well, it's not even recognizing necessarily that other people can help and would be happy to help if you would just let go of some of that,
I've witnessed that with some of my clients with QHHT and stuff, where we've shifted that, where they felt they didn't have support. And just like what you're saying, looking at that weight on the shoulders and stuff like that. And once they have that aha moment, they realize they've had the support around them all along. And then they start really looking at it, and it almost becomes emotional when they realize how supported they really are. They just were blinded to it because they were in this other reality.
And that's what the body's trying to tell them. That's what the higher self's trying to say. Hey, you don't have to carry all this.
Yeah.
Let some of these others who are around you and happy to do it, let them help. That's the message.
Absolutely.
That's the message, Jason.
Yeah, but you're the one going through all the, because we're not listening. And hey, I'm talking to myself here. This is a constant reminder thing.
Yeah, it really is. I get that too when I do sessions. I'm like, I know they're talking to me too. So, yeah.
You said the information came from, like, as your mom was giving sessions, and she used to come home and she was like, this person had throat issues, and it's because you're not speaking the truth and everything.
Yeah.
What was the other ways that you was getting some of the information?
Intuitively. It started with mom and her sessions, just like what you said. She'd come in and she's like, guess what I learned today. I mean, every time it was either what she learned she could do today or what something else meant. I mean, because this was coming in very gradually. And when this healing thing started, that was such a new concept to us anyway. And so she would say, well, this is what, it just started seeing a trend. And she started saying after several people, it was meaning the same thing, these different parts of the body were meaning the same thing. And it was just a few. And she would come in, she's like, well, this is what they're saying this means, you know, like maybe the knees and like you're saying, different parts. And I was like, man, that makes sense. That's
Right.
logical in an illogical way. And because of my nursing background, I love the body. I absolutely love the body. And stuff like that, to make it make sense in this way, just was just poetry to me, you know. And so then I was like, okay, well, and so then I'm kind of looking at it like a language. I said, well, if that means that, then, and then what you're saying is this, then something here would mean this, and things that she hadn't even come up with. I was thinking, so I was coming up with some others. And then sure enough, right after that, somebody would come up to me, you know, and just start talking to me and telling me about their aches and pains or whatever. And I'm just like, and I said, well, so is this going on in your life? I'm like, how did you know? Are you psychic? I'm like, no, you're transparent. I mean, and that's when I started testing that. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's exactly how it works. I mean, this is a language. You just have to understand the translation.
Yeah.
And that was it. And it's amazing. Like I said, and then people are like, you must be psychic. It's no, you're just very transparent. And then it gets to a point, it's like, stop talking unless you want me to know everything going on in your life, because it's revealing.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Now Jason's scared to talk.
Oh no, we still got more fun left. Another cool thing was, I like your story about how you felt the need to write this book, and you know, that's an interesting story too.
Yeah, I'd be in the back. Like I said, she was coming home from sessions and telling me these things. So then as she's teaching the class, but this was early on in the teaching, and so these are just starting to come in, and she's telling the students about, well, this is what I'm finding. And then the students are saying, well, do you have this in a book? And she's, no, I'm too busy to write another book. It's all fine. But I'd be in the back of the room working, right? And I would get this little tap on the head, and I'm like, you know, and they said, this is your book. You need to write this book. I'm like, well, okay, fine, but it's Mom's stuff. So I went to her afterwards, after the class. I said, well, this is what's happening. This is the message I'm getting. And I said, but this is your material, so how about we write this together? You know, because that makes sense. And she's, oh, no, this is your book. So
you couldn't get her suckered into doing it.
No, she had several. She's always working on at least 3 at a time. So like, I couldn't do that. So So then, as I kept going, I mean, every single class, I mean, they would be doing that to me. I'm like, okay, and then I'd hear what they're saying, and I'd be writing notes, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go with this, right? And then I wouldn't do anything. The next class, they do the same thing, and they give me all this information. I write it down, and I started comparing notes. It was the same stuff they were giving me, so it was something important. I don't remember what it was now. It might have been the introduction or the beginning of the book or something. But it was like, this is how you start it. Anyway, I just kept, you know, it's funny you say I felt like the need to write it. I did, but I resisted because I didn't understand. You know, I think it's just my nature is to resist, or it was my nature. We're working on that.
Yes.
I'm changing that. It was to resist everything. And my nose, here goes that nose thing.
Let's
That's the whole.
read this book. Nose. Oh, yeah. Nose.
It's about to get real in here. It's about to get real. Funny.
So anyway, so they just kept on pushing me. It's like, you got to do this. But then in the classes, when she would tell people I'm working on that book, people would come to me and they'd say, oh, well, I've got this wonderful book that you need to go look at. And it's got, you know, it's other people doing the same thing. And I think, well, if all these other people are doing this, why do I need to do it? I mean, that does not make sense to me. Why do we need another book on the shelf about the same thing? And then that's when they said, none of the other books, most of the other books are really big and intricate, and they're really just resource books. You're not going to absorb them internally and know the process. They're just something you're going to go to outside of yourself to get the answers. Then they also said that they don't have the process. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what they told me. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, fine. I finally consented that I would do this, but I still put it off. And I my feet and stuff. Finally, about the time, this is interesting, Tracy, you said it was the end of 2012 that we met.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember working on this book in Hawaii. That was there's a deer out there. Oh, cool. Anyway, I'm like, I kept saying something.
She's a little more advanced. With me, it's a squirrel, but with Julia, it's the deer.
Anyway, so it was earlier in 2012. They had given me the message. They said, "Look, you have 1 year. 1 year." To get this book finished. And if you don't, we're taking it away. We're giving it to someone else. Now, that got my attention.
Motivator.
That motivated me. I had it done. Like, if we were doing that at the end of 2012. The book was out February of 2013. So I was finishing it there in Hawaii.
Nice.
Which was a very cool place to be doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Little motivation.
So as far as, yes, I saw the need for it, but I was still resisting and dragging my feet and doing all my human things. But
yeah,
I still love me.
Absolutely.
She is part human.
I always wanted to know, did your mom ever say anything like about your book? Like would she read it and say, you shouldn't put this, you should put that?
Yeah, yeah, she helped me. Like, we would go back and forth. I would write it and then I'd give it to her and see what she thought about it. And then she's like, okay, I think you need a little more here. This looks good. And she would just help kind of do the finishing, polishing touches on it. But yeah, she and I would write it and she would kind of edit and do that and then come back and it's like, okay, do a little bit more here or whatever. But
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sure she was very happy and proud of you.
Well, that's something to ask me. I would like to think so. Yeah, I was very happy and proud of her, and we worked well together. We were a good combo. And I know more, now about how much I appreciate and respect, and I was always told that would be the case, but, you think, because we were together so much. It was like 24/7 for 10 years, just on all these trips and doing these classes and working together and doing everything. And so, you spend that much time with somebody, you touch nerves, you hit things like that, but it's still, the relationship was just very, very strong, and we really worked well together. I miss her terribly now in the 3D. I know I have access to her at any time, but we used to talk almost every night, and that was that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
we
amazing.
had some really cool metaphysical talks.
I imagine. Yeah, that would be fun.
It'd be like, so what y'all talked about last night? Oh, what you want to know?
It got to be, it's like I kept saying, we need to have a recorder going whenever we are two in the room, because the most amazing stuff would come out, and then we try to remember it later.
Yeah. I've had conversations like that with friends too, where it's like, oh, I wish we would have recorded that.
Mm-hmm.
Some good stuff right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, Ozark Mountain, that's where your book is published to. That is, your mom helped create that? That's
Yes.
pretty cool.
Yeah, that was, and that was a long story in itself, but my father actually started that. They were going through a lot of publishers, and publishers just kept going out of business, doing things like that, and just running off and stuff. But then finally, they were like, "What are we going to do now?" And Mom had quite a few books out, and it was like, "Well, let's just start our own." And that was at a time when this was not normal to just start your own publishing company and have other people's books. Now it's more. People have them at their ebooks, or they're more on the fly. This isn't. Where all the things are done in-house, it's editing, it's book setting, all that stuff. So it was all done at a time when it was very unusual, and it was all groundbreaking. But that's the kind of stuff that they're used to doing. They're always doing things that you're not supposed to be able to do.
Right.
So that's what I grew up with.
The family motto.
Mm-hmm.
Roll up the sleeves and get it.
Do it anyway.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a green light. Can't be done. Okay.
Let's just see about that.
So what would they do? They would just contract a publisher to produce the books in mass
No, we
form?
were the publisher.
Like you physically printing the books?
No, that we contract with a printer
Okay.
to print the books, but we did all the publishing. We did all that part, you know, of it, the editing, the typesetting. Now it's just simple on a computer, but back then it was a lot more to it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then it goes
I can
to a
imagine.
printer.
I
Yeah,
can
it's
imagine.
very different now than it used to be. It is so different. It's so easy now. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think Amazon can print your own books.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, anybody.
A
can be
whole
their own
nother battle
publisher
right
now.
there.
How long did it take you to write this book? How
I
long?
would say from the beginning, from the very first, where I first tap whatever, to being completed, it took between 6 and 7 years. And it's not a very big book. It's like there was no excuse. But the thing was, and what I want people to understand is, I mean, because it wasn't like it was really hard and I was trying all that time and not, you know, all this. It was me dragging my own feet and resisting. I was the one. I was the issue. Once they said, "Hey, 1 year," I got that motivated me, and I sat down, and it all just flowed. It just kept going. I mean, once I sat down and started doing it,
Yeah.
it just did it. It pretty much wrote itself. And I people will compliment me on the book all the time, and you know, sometimes I'm like, I have a hard time taking compliments sometimes, but not with the book, because I know that, I mean, I was the channel for it. I mean, it just came through me. It wasn't me. I happened to be the one doing the typing.
Yeah.
You know, there's parts of it that I had to dig in. You know, like I said, we had things from sessions and where we had actual cases, you know, what they were, and other things that we didn't have cases to show. Then I actually energetically crawled into the disease process or the whatever it was to understand its message. Now that I will take claim for, because that was a really interesting experience, because everything has this different feel, and it has something it wants to say. And that's what I encourage people to do, is understand everything is energy. And if you will just get energetically and go into that process, you will understand. That will be even clearer what it wants to say to you.
Yeah. Why is it there? What's the intention behind it? Yeah. Do you have a plan of doing more books?
I do. If Tracy will keep pushing me.
It's
That's been my assignment. They don't tap her anymore. Now they tap
Tracy.
me.
And then Tracy goes, "Where are you on this?"
Absolutely.
I keep getting different assignments, and plus I'm still working on, I have one, and there's probably more of Mom's material that she had left when she passed. I mean, she had 3 books in different stages. We've gotten 2 of them out already, and this is the 3rd one. And then she has some other but these are very rough, you know, shape, and so there's a lot of work that needs to be done on them. And then mine, I just keep getting assignments. This is what you need to do, and it's like, okay, I guess it's going to go online. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I just
more coming.
Yeah, and I know it's me when things are, you know, because the only thing that blocks anything is me. So, and that's, I'm just out with it here. I mean, anybody, if you find you're having issues with things, with trying to produce and trying to do, look at yourself, look at what's going on within you, because I guarantee you, it's with you. It's just mirroring. It's just mirroring what you've got going on inside.
I think we need to put a headset on Buddy, because he keeps wanting to make an appearance here.
Hi, buddy.
What you doing, buddy?
He's so sweet, looking right into the camera.
No. Now he's going to look away.
Come on, buddy.
Like, it's going to steal my soul, and he ran.
Would this be Convoluted Universe Book 6?
Well, that would be, yes, that's some other books that I am wanting to, or I will do. It'll be compiling practitioners' session stories, just like Mom put in her Convoluted Universe books. It will be compiling other stories that the practitioners are still getting in their sessions, just more and more material, because this strange and unusual events, they didn't stop when Mom passed.
Right.
They're still going on. We're still evolving. We're still discovering more and more. And so as I get material from the practitioners, then I'll be putting those into more books. So in other words, the Convoluted Universe series will continue.
Nice.
And also, if you're a
My
practitioner
question.
and you're listening to this video and you have a story you would like to submit,
Yeah, just get it to me or the office, and they'll get it to me. And because you will get full credit for it, it will be in a Convoluted Universe book with Mom's name on it, but it will, because there's still some material that she has that I want to put out there, but it's not enough to put all in one book herself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that would be exciting, because every day I'm hearing stories of what the practitioners are getting, and it's amazing. It's the same thing. It's the same way when Mom would come in. It's like, guess what I found out today? And it's just our ever evolving and ever expanding universe is just, it's amazing. It's something that we want to know, and it helps us. I mean, we're all growing as we learn these things. So I'll do the same thing Mom did. She put it out there in books because she thought, well, if I'm interested in this and I've never heard of it before, maybe somebody else would enjoy this as well. So I just want to continue that on.
She was right. Yeah.
I'm book number 5, so I know I enjoy it. I mean, I was going through a phase where I wasn't even watching TV. Mm-hmm. Saturday, Sunday, 4 or 5 hours, reading it almost straight. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like, forget TV. The stuff in these books is look, puts all that to shame,
I can't touch it.
Yeah, I mean, you want stuff to blow your mind, and as your mom used to say, bend your mind like a pretzel.
Pretzel, yes. Mind bending.
Yeah.
I mean, this was like making pizza dough.
Really, we're stretching.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does. And sometimes it's like, you may not understand it fully, but it does make you think. And that's really what her objective was. It's just keep an open mind and just see. I mean, you don't have to buy it. You don't have to, put on the center. Just let just think, because it does. That's what it'll do. It's like, whoa, could this be possible?
Oh yeah. I mean, just the stuff that people had from other lives on other planets. Mm-hmm. Spaceships and robots and other alien beings. It's like, wow. And it's pretty
life in other forms.
A lot of details too. Yeah,
life in other forms. I mean, that's a lot for people. Some people, I think we're getting now, because when she first was getting that was such a foreign concept. You mean it's possible that we were something other than humans on Earth?
Right, exactly.
I think people now, because of TVs and movies and all that, and those are for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
They're out there. Mm-hmm. So
seeds.
Exactly. And so that's helping people to where they're more accepting of the ideas that we could have been, or at least there is stuff out there. Now, whether we are them or not, that could be another thing that takes a little bit for them to grasp, but that's what it is. We've all had these experiences. Some shows, I can't remember right offhand, but I've seen recently, and it's like, I would almost guarantee they have read Mom's books, because those things are just coming right out of her books.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be they're coming from other sources too, because that's how it works when it's time. They'll come from many different areas, but it's just so right in line with her material. I wouldn't doubt it if they're just finding a way to get those things out there.
Yeah.
Speaking of movies, I even did a video explaining Convoluted Universe. In my mind, it's like you had the movie Lucy, Valerian, The Matrix, and maybe Star Wars or Star Trek, all put in one. Think of all those movies and put it all into one movie, and that's kind of like what you get,
Okay, I haven't seen 2 of those.
Really? Which ones?
Lucy and Valerian.
Oh my God, you have to watch those.
Yeah, especially Valerian.
Yeah, Valerian.
Valerian V.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I'll send you a link later.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to.
You'll want to see that one.
Yes.
Yeah, because it deals with other dimensions, and you don't really see that in movies, where
it's the collective. It's a galactic collective of,
Yes, I will. Yeah, send it to me so I can watch it tonight.
And just Lucy kind of reminds me of like different ways of like, even though in this movie she takes a pill, a powder, and it makes her smarter. She can see within your body and see different frequencies and so on. And it kind of reminds me things in the book, like they can see different wavelengths and different, like what's going on in the body and, signals and so on. And I was like, man, that reminds me of that movie Lucy.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, yeah.
I think of that movie all the time.
yeah,
Especially the point where she walks outside and she can see all of the frequencies coming to the cell phones, to the devices,
that was cool.
to the buildings, and she can just see every line of frequency coming around. And the trees, she'd look at the tree and she could see the energy moving through the tree.
Because that happens in sessions
Mm-hmm.
a lot,
Yeah.
you're in that space where you can sense things like that. You're able to see things differently, and you can see that dimension. It's a frequency.
Well, and then she taps into like the source energy itself, doesn't she, in there, and just becomes part of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need to see it.
Sounds
Time
like
travels a little bit.
Yeah.
You say time travel?
Yeah, she goes to all the way back to the beginning.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Name of the movie is Lucy, and I think they go back to the ape that they found.
Oh, okay. The ape. Okay, the very first. That's supposed to be the first. Is that like the?
Yeah, that first human.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
so I think that was like a little hidden message in that movie that they were trying to do.
Mhm.
I think.
Yes, it's things like that. So they're doing things. Yeah, they're reminding me how it's just a matter of us being aware, because they're doing things constantly, trying to get us to understand, to know more. I mean, they're putting the information out there in front of us. Just be aware. I mean, we're picking it up, most of us subconsciously. But if you'll just be a little bit aware, you'll see consciously exactly what's going on. And it's nothing. It's not like a conspiracy or anything like that. It's about us becoming more aware, us knowing more, us shifting dimensions, us, it's things like that. And the more it's happening, whether we're conscious of it or not. This is a way of us to be conscious of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not caught off guard and surprised.
Right. Yeah.
Is there any practitioner sending you any information now?
Mm-hmm.
Any QHHT practitioners?
Right. Yeah. As I go, it's mostly whenever I go through a class, like in a level 3 class, I've got to look at their material to be able to pass them. And so that's when I get to see it right then. Otherwise, I mean, they need to send it to me, and that, they're just not thinking about it. And so there I have it, and I've got something I like. I ask if I can have permission to do something with it. And then so I am starting to collect that way. But it would be even more wonderful if people would just start sending me things so I have more collection. Because it takes
because she needs something else to do. She's bored.
Absolutely, I'm bored. I'm just nothing to do. Tracy is, kicking me. It's like, do something. So,
you just pulled in 6 different directions.
She just sits there in her living room watching deer walk by the window.
Yeah, I'd be on the porch doing
it. What's the best way to send you the information? Was it email?
Yeah, if they would just send it to the office. You can do info at qhhtofficial.com.
Okay.
Then they would get it to me.
And which you looking for video?
No, it just be transcriptions.
Transcript.
It could be audio. I mean, if they happen to have it in video, but that most sessions are not done in video. Right. If they happen to have if there happens to be something on there, fine. That usually sessions don't have a lot of visual. They're pretty much somebody just laying there.
Yeah.
Right.
You get their facial expressions, and those tell a lot. But other than that, it's the story. It's what's being said, what's audible. So we'll just take that and we'll transcribe it and go from there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I said video because my world is a little bit more video.
Yeah.
So even when it's audio, I have to make it into a video.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, because you're putting it on YouTube. So yeah.
Exactly.
Right. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's just coming in. Maybe that's another way for us to do some of this. Is to put some of these sessions in a story format, kind of like in a video, and rather than it just being somebody laying there telling it, you've got kind of like the book format. It'd be like you have all these things happening, but now it's on video. It's being kind of reenacted or something. It would take a little bit to do it, but it could be really powerful.
That would be an amazing way to experience it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
You should do that.
I think so. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, just put it on your list.
Okay.
Yeah, she's going to need an assistant for the assistant.
No
Mhm.
kidding. Yeah.
Yep.
For Soul Speak, what's one of the amazing stories someone ever came to you? Doesn't have to be the most, but what's one of the stories that has like, wow, that was truly amazing story from someone?
So many about, gosh, and you're saying it right here. I have to go off the top of my head here. Because it's always anything, it's like when you do sessions, you're doing it and then you release it. And I don't hold on to, I mean, I work with people right then. It's always the aha, crying a lot of times. It's just because that's happening. Then they're releasing and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but I do know a lot of things with legs. Legs are a big one in the low, the back and stuff.
The hips, the legs.
Yeah, anything with the hips, the legs, the knees, the ankles, the feet. All of that is with this part of the body, that moves you. They call them locomotors. And when I say they, I'm talking about my higher self, or the collective, or
Mm-hmm.
universal consciousness. But they like to call that part, I mean, we call them legs, but they call them locomotors because they move us in our direction. They move us from point A to point B. So if you have something going on in that part of the body, it has something to do with you on your path. Either you've stopped, you're stuck, or you're moving in the wrong direction, or you're afraid, like some things with the feet. I mean, this is so literal. It's like you're like testing the waters. It's like you're just tipping, you're dipping a toe in, trying to test it, and you won't commit, you won't get fully in because you're just testing it. And they're like saying, just go, get in there, stop just monkeying around here. The knees, I mean, all these things always have to do with your path. Something to do with your path. And
right. Like you're not walking your path, or you're not going in the right direction, kind of thing.
Right. And many times it's, so many things, because things happen in life. I mean, we earlier on, or in a big part of our life, we're going gangbusters, we're just going for it and stuff. But then life starts happening and starts we get beat down, sometimes. And then we just get where we're afraid, or we're hesitant to take that next big step. So because we get knocked down sometimes. And so that's, again, we're afraid to step out. We're afraid to see how literal that is. We're afraid to move. And so that we start holding ourselves back. And that's where the big me, I call it big me, but the higher self is saying, hey, this is where you need to go, take that move.
Right.
And so it's affecting your legs, telling your legs to move. So it's like, get going. But yeah, you might be stuck. You might have just stopped because of all the things that have happened, all the, the hits. We get hit. That's life. That's part of the experience.
Speaking of life, do you ever find past lives come in and affect people in a physical?
They can, absolutely.
Yeah.
If something's on the left side of the body, it's coming from the past in this life or from another life. And so that's giving you a clue right there. And you'll find a lot of phobias, probably most all phobias come from another life. Many times it's the way you died in another life, and it's just residue. We call it residue that just carried over into this life.
Yeah.
So,
nice.
Yeah. Once you understand it, because I came in with a lot of phobias. And then early on I was the guinea pig for my mother. She was learning her techniques and she was just practicing. So,
I know. I kind of see Dolores like, oh, Julia, come here.
Because I come home on, I was going to nursing school.
Oh, yeah, by the way, sit down.
Right. Well, I love that stuff. I was growing spiritually too, and it was just all fun to play, to work with. I'll say.
She thought her mom always talked with a rhythmic voice. She didn't realize that she was being.
No, actually, it was funny because after she would do it, she did it for a while. Then it became when I was just sitting there with her in the evening and we'd just be talking. I couldn't keep my eyes open because I've been regressed enough by her that her voice just, it was so hard to stay awake.
Yeah. I imagine that would be true. So I have
And
another
that's
question.
happening,
I've got
and that's
another
happening
question.
actually now with you, Tracy. I don't know if you've noticed that, because we've done so many journeys together that now sometimes if we just keep talking, I find myself trying
Yeah.
to,
I
it's
get
not
it.
that I'm bored. It's that voice. When you get enough work done with you by someone, you
Well,
start going under.
and part of the suggestion is the sound of my voice will make you very comfortable and relaxed.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, the more we play, you spend a week with me in LA, you might start really relaxing when I talk to you.
Mhm.
Okay, now, do I remember my question? Yes, I do. This book, it's so golden as a practitioner because it gives us so much information. We get into these sessions with our clients. We go into a past life that's mirroring something they're going through in this lifetime. What do you see happening with how this book works with QHHT and how the practitioners are able to use that in their sessions?
It really helps to know what questions to ask to help them explore through these things, because they definitely have something going on in this life. Otherwise, they wouldn't have the issue. I mean, it's a message. It's always a message. So if they have something going on, there's something happening in their life. So they say, oh, no, everything's wonderful, a wonderful life. I love everything about it. But they might have, be supposed to be going in for heart surgery and have the beginnings of throat cancer. And I was just like, no, your body is telling me something else.
Yeah.
The body does not lie. And so that's where then a session, it will help you to know what questions to ask, as far as how to explore, because it's deeper than just, they were in a car accident here and that made it so, or they twisted their ankle in playing tennis when they were younger, or whatever. Because
Right.
sometimes that's what they try to say. Oh, that's the cause of it. No,
Yeah.
that's not the cause of it. That was another message. So we got to get to the core of that. There was something.
And I just had somebody that had a neck injury from, well, I won't go into personal details, but there was a neck injury.
Mhm.
And, using techniques from, or, just questions,
Mhm.
knowing what I know from the book, able to guide them through questions and looking deeper into the neck injury. A few days after the session, I'm getting this response that the pain's still gone. I'm still in awe of this
Right.
session.
It's about getting to the core of it. You got to the base. What was the message? That's the core. What was the message? Once you get the message, you understand it, then there's no longer a need for the message. It's been delivered. That was its only purpose.
Yeah.
To deliver a message. That was it.
I had one guy, and this was years ago, he was hanging on to shoulder pain because he was in a motorcycle accident and he was working on collecting money from the insurance company. And the doctors kept saying that should be healed by now. It should be healed by now. Turned out he was hanging on to that pain and hanging on to the injury and the trauma of it because he felt if he was going to get money from the insurance company, he needed to be in pain.
Sure. Yeah.
And once we cleared that from him, then he was able to let go of the pain and still get his insurance money. The injury was still there, it still happened to him. But in his subconscious mind, he was convinced he needed to have the pain to justify getting the money from the insurance.
Right. And that happens a lot. It's like justification. It's like you got to get to the base of it. What's,
Yeah. So it's simple things that you may not have a clue you're even doing to yourself. It was totally a subconscious belief system that, if I'm going to get money, I should probably be in pain.
But see how powerful that is? And somebody might not see that as powerful, but it is because you're doing that yourself. So if you can do that, imagine what else you can do.
Yeah.
For yourself. Because that's how strong and powerful the mind is.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
That's a big deal.
Yeah. My little part when I tell people, it's like sometimes they don't believe in certain things. Like they don't believe that you can heal yourself, that your mind is powerful to where you can heal yourself. But once when I say, do you believe you can make yourself sick and that you can, physically drain yourself and make yourself ill? Right. Everybody says yes. I'm like, well, wait a minute.
Mhm.
You have the power to make yourself sick, then you have the power to make yourself better.
Right.
And that part just, it just
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes
They
doesn't
they
click.
don't want to believe in their power to that degree. They have no problem believing that they can create negative, but or and create. You know, it's like you can create certain ways. It's just the same as, and I'm going to go out here. This sometimes is a sore spot for people. Things that appear negative in your life that may even appear like entities. That's just us doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And some people don't want to believe that we can create things like that. No, we just create the good things, or we just create, we can create, make
Yeah,
ourselves
why would I
sick.
do that to myself, Julia? Why would I do that to myself?
Why would you make yourself sick? Why would you do
Yep.
these? Why would you do something like that? Why would you create something that appears to be a negative thing outside of yourself?
Yeah, and I've heard some really, really bad, horrible stories, horrible childhood, and all of that kind of stuff. And I get it. I understand why you would be upset to find out that that's something you lined up in your path, or that you've, that you're bringing into your own reality.
Yeah, and it's your fear. It's your, it's most like 9 times out of 10, it's your fear. But it's something that you have to look at and you have to work with. And your higher self is saying, hey, if you're not willing to look inside of yourself at it, then we're going to put it outside here for you to look at. And you created this. Your higher self is you. It's just a bigger part of you. So this is you, your team, working together to help you grow. And these are experiences you're having to help you always grow and be more, and then understand how powerful you are. And so it's understanding. I mean, we look at these things, and it's fear. I did that. You do this, so you will look at it. You have to look at it. But the beautiful thing about fear is once you look at it, because that's its big thing, is it's all spooky and horrible as long as it's in the dark. Once you shine light on it and you look at it and you literally, this is one of them I did for the book. It presented itself, and first you want to look away. We're afraid of fear, right? This stuff is scary. We create it scary so we won't look at it. But if you will just look at it and look it in the eyes, it will go away. You just need to look at it. You will understand it for what it is at that point.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, if you will understand that you are powerful enough to create, we're okay with saying, okay, yeah, I can create the good stuff, but we don't want to say we created the bad stuff. Well, it's creation. Everything's our creation. We are powerful. We create all of this, but when you understand that you created, or we are each creating our own little world of good and bad, we'll say positive and negative, whatever you want to call it, light and heavy, whatever. When you understand that, then we understand the power we have. Okay, I don't have to keep creating this. I understand it now. It was just doing that because I wouldn't look at it. Now I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I look at it, and now that can be done, and we can move into positive areas.
And it literally loses its power in that moment.
It just goes away. It presented itself to me as, I'm trying to think if it was fear or if it was cancer. Which one did, as like the little it on, was it the Addams Family? That
yes.
had it, it was like the hair. I can't remember which one it was. But anyway, I just had to look it in the eyes. And when I did, it wasn't scary anymore. It was more like sad and pitiful. And so then it was a different emotion there.
Do you have an example of someone that had fear, like an example, in case people make sure they're doing the right process? Like that this person had this type of symptom, it was fear, and then what did they do to help with that?
Well, I could even say myself, that was like a huge thing I had to, and I think it was way before I ever wrote this book. And so I knew, it was interesting. At that time, I knew something was going to be happening where I needed to know all the disguises of fear, because that's what I was being shown, because fear takes on many, many disguises. It appears in ways you wouldn't imagine. And so I was presented that way. So it was really more of, it was like being able to recognize it sooner and sooner. And then as soon as I did, then I didn't react, because we tend to react. We are afraid of fear, right? It's like, something that's what's there is to scare us. And so as soon as I would realize, oh, this is fear, and then I would look at it. So I was doing that even before I got to this part in the book of, oh, got to look at it and stuff. I was doing that for myself. And that was the situation I was in. It was to teach me that. As soon as I got to where it was an immediate reaction, when fear presented and my reaction was different, I didn't go the scared route. I went to the, let's look at this. Then the situation I was in was no longer needed because it was there to teach me that.
Now, you looked at it physically, or you looked at it with your mind's eye, or?
I looked at it within. It was like I knew, well, it was a physical situation, but I had to look beyond it. It's like get to the core of it. Again, you get past the surface because it's presenting one way, and you just have to realize, oh, this is just fear, and it's to see what my reaction is to it. And so as soon as I got to go on that, first it was like maybe a day or so before I realized that. And then little by little, it got faster and faster until when it was finally within minutes. I knew, fear, nope. And so then it's no longer a game. I learned it, I figured it out, and now it's not needed anymore because I learned what I needed to learn from it.
Interesting.
What I want you to know is there are a lot of guises for fear.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned cancer, and you have you mentioned it in your book, and you kind of have a great answer to what cancer is, and
Absolutely.
I think that will benefit a lot of people.
Yes, and if they will be honest with themselves, it will benefit, because that's really what it comes down to. Cancer is anger. Just simple. That's the way it is. It is anger. It's anger that they're holding in. There's a word, it's not coming to me right now, but it's just where they're holding it in. They will not talk about it. They need to talk about it, but they won't talk about their feelings. And that's the whole reason. That's why it's there. It's why it's manifesting, because it's like, this is stuff. This is a bunch of junk you're holding in. You need to release it. You need to talk about it, but they're just holding it in. They feel like, oh, everybody else has got the problem. It's not me. And so that's the way it is. They're holding it all in. Now, where the cancer is will tell you what they're angry about. Now, that's the golden part of it right there. Because otherwise, they're going to say, no, I'm not angry. I'm not angry. Where it is telling you what they're angry about.
Interesting.
So, examples. A big one that's a lot of people, it's a big one. It's a breast cancer.
Yeah.
Okay. So you look at, what do the breasts represent? What do they do? What do they represent?
Nourishment.
Nourishment, nursing.
Life.
Say that again.
Life.
Life. There's a nurturing. That's the word I'm wanting. Nurturing. Yeah, because it's like nourishment. Yeah, it's nurturing. So you look, okay, and then again, depending on what side it's on, will tell you if it's something going on right now or if it's something from the past. Okay, so let's say it's nurturing. Maybe they never felt nurtured when they were little or somewhere in their life in their past. And so that's carried through, and then maybe it's reflecting in a situation they have now. Maybe they have a spouse or they have a situation that's pulling in the same things that they had before. And so that's what's telling them, look, this comes from back here. You got to look at what was going on in your life, and then they're either not feeling nurtured, something's going on. Another one where there's cancer is in the uterus, okay, in the cervix, things like that. We're picking on the female body right now, but this is showing you how literal it is. The female, like the female organs. I mean, what happens in the uterus?
Babies.
Babies, exactly. You create. That's the creation zone. All right. So quite literally, either they may be having issues with having children, or they're having issues with not feeling like they can be creative. Maybe they're in a relationship that's thwarting that, or they're in a situation that's thwarting that ability to be creative. And then they get angry about it. But they're not going to show anybody that they're angry. They're just going to hold it in and just be their good little self. And they're not going to talk about their feelings. They're not going to talk about anything because that's just not right. But meanwhile, they're holding it in, and their body's trying to yell and say, hey, You got to do something. But see, they're
Trying to
mad
tell
about
you
it. They
something.
won't talk about it. Throat cancer. What did we say the throat was?
Not speaking your truth.
Not
Not
speaking the
speaking.
truth.
There's something you need to say, and you're not saying it, and you are angry.
Right. Like that person's holding back.
Yes, very much so. So see how really that's what I'm saying. It's simple. It's easy to understand. And then if you look at it, you have to all emotions removed. That's where you have to go with this. These are messages. This is simple as far as this is the higher self just trying to deliver messages through the body. And if you can look at it that way, that helps to get to that place of where you've detached from it. And when you're in that place, it's much easier to understand the messages and to do something about it. When you're emotionally invested in it, you're so close, it's hard to see what's going on. So you got to kind of pull back and definitely allow the emotions to a little space there so you can work with it.
Wow. Interesting. I know your book's on Amazon, and I'm going to have a link below for the Amazon link, but where else if someone's interested in your book, where else can they get it?
At the publishing company, the Ozark Mountain Publishing. And the website there is ozarkmt for mountain.com. So it's OZARKMT.com.
Okay. And I'll have that link in the description as well.
Okay.
So,
Super. Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. I see it
And
right there.
I'd be looking for a future class on this as well.
Absolutely. I was going to mention that's where I'm being prodded. You're saying about books and everything. I'm really being prodded to do a course on Soul Speak, on helping to really get into it and help people understand how to work with it, just like we're talking about. But it's really getting into the nuts and bolts and how to determine it and all these different aspects and fully understand how to work with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is that going to be a physical course, or is it going to be online?
It'll be online.
Online.
And if I have anything to do about it, it will be a physical course
Yes.
offered with QHHT training.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right now I do parts of it in the class, but this will be like a whole.
It needs its own day. Yeah, it just needs its own course because it's so important to practitioners to know this information, how to work with it. It's so valuable. So
Absolutely.
that's my job.
I think it's a good step forward. Yeah, that is her job. She's a good poker.
Absolutely.
What have you done today? What have you done today?
Yeah, if not,
What
you can
you
always do it as an option. You know, if you can't squeeze it into the regular course, you can always do it as an option at the end of the course.
That's
the
what
plan.
we're talking about. Yeah, doing something like that.